Hi, I'm Matt Bacon, and this is My Point 4 Cents.
Hi, I'm Izzy Guti.
I'm Dustin Boyer.
And I'm Andrew Southworth. And this week we're going to be talking about Millennial versus Gen Z marketing and CharliXCX's new song, Rollout, as a result of that. And then Megan Trainor's branding flub along with Blue Dot Fever. Behind the paywall, we're going to talk about storytelling in vertical video content and then the difference between high lift versus low lift content.
I also interviewed my good friend Mark Jourdian of Good Harbor about music marketing, digital strategy, and what is definitely a Mitski catnip grinder. Good Harbor, who he works with, is a management company who collaborate with artists like boygenius, Father John Misty, Mitski, and many more.
Our co-host today is Izzy Guti, who you've already met. She is the VP of Creative and Social at Disruptive Soul here in Nashville, who's worked with acts like Skydaddy, Ernest, and Tim McCrew. She's an expert in creative marketing and content creation. I also have worked with her in the past, and I'm so excited to have her on here because I think she's brilliant when it comes to content marketing.
So yeah, first topic. There's a lot of exciting stuff this week, actually.
Yeah, it's funny because you took off for 2 weeks, and there wasn't a whole lot of news, and I'm like, he took off like the 2 weeks that like I felt like nothing was happening in the music industry.
And now we're back.
And now
Nothing happens with when Matt's gone. He is the music industry.
So one of the things I hit the group chat with earlier today was this meme style. So one of the things that you've seen a lot on Instagram is this meme style. And this is like for a cat adoption thing, whatever. But this this really summarizes it well. This idea that the millennial marketing team showcasing a cat says, Sally is a gentle, charming gentleman with so much love to give. He would prefer to be an only cat, but will make a loyal and devoted companion. And the Gen Z social team says, orange and cognitively offline. With like weird emojis and stickers and whatever. And I feel like this encapsulates so much of what differentiates millennial and Gen Z marketing is that the Gen Z marketing, I think, is so intentionally anti, I guess you could say. And also it's high context. Right, it's assuming that the consumer is already very online, and it's extremely hard to make some of these jokes hit to someone who is not very online.
I will say this. Yeah. I kind of had this thought in real time because before we chatted about this topic, I was like, yeah, we have to think about this stuff differently, and certainly you do. But it just sort of occurred to me that what the Gen Z marketing looks like, it's kind of how it looked when I was that age. Too.
Yeah.
Like, it's like it's just a lot of memes and misanthropic sort of like self-deprecating. I don't know. All of a sudden I was like, maybe this is just younger people. Like younger people don't like typical marketing, but I think that older people they start to enjoy just very straightforward messaging because they can't be as glued into the inside jokes as younger people are.
Yeah, I feel like when we were growing up, it was more like we had plenty of very obtuse, strange like things you had to feel plugged in on to kind of understand. I mean, I remember I don't remember what year this was, but like Puppy Monkey Baby.
Yeah, Puppy Monkey Baby.
Like that was super weird. I mean, there wasn't really any context to get there other than that it was super
strange. Matt, do you know what we're talking about? No. Oh, but that's right on the cusp, baby.
Yeah, so it was this Super Bowl ad, I think for Mountain Dew, and there was this weird puppy monkey baby hybrid walking around just going puppy monkey baby, and that was like the whole ad for like 30 seconds
That's the
straight.
Whole thing.
And I don't think a ad targeted at because undoubtedly I forget exactly what year it is, but undoubtedly the millennials would have been the target group for that at the time. I don't think they would do that same ad targeted millennials that strange, you know. So I do think the millennial versus Gen Z marketing probably does just, I mean, obviously it changes, right? Because if you're targeting someone who's 18 versus 30, there's going to be some differences. So it's not necessarily just millennial versus Gen Z. It's just like every age group plus the gender discrepancies along the way.
Well, and I think the context of this is really framed well around CharliXCX's new cultural launch around her new album. Because Olivia here in the office is a super fan, and her and I have been arguing about it because I think honestly the new song is fucking terrible. And Izzy actually framed it up really well of like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, go ahead, Izzy.
Yeah, I think this first song is more of like her entering a new chapter, a new era for her. Like, this probably isn't her strongest song. I mean, it's like a 2-minute song. There's not a lot going on in it. But I think I love her video. Like, her with the neck brace on in the back of the car is so just funny and creative. She's so like self-aware. Even the way she talks online, it's very, again, like Gen Z vibe. Like, she's like, I never said I was making a rock album. I'm just making a song called Rock. Like, girl, what are you doing? I just love her whole era.
This pisses me off.
I love it. No, I love it. It's so strange.
So mad, just, like, quit trolling us.
I love the trolling, and I just think it's more like her setting everything up for what's to come, and that's why people are really enjoying it. And also, have you been seeing there's like a new trend around the song too, where people are like editing their videos to have that same like glitch effect, and it's kind of just, I don't know, I think it's fun, I think it's creative, I think it's just a cool way to enter a new chapter.
I mean, I saw it, and I immediately was like, I hate this, but I could understand it's not for me.
That's how I was like.
Like, I was like, this
terrible.
sounds like, this doesn't sound, not only does it sound like it was AI generated or something, it sounds like it was one of the songs you throw out in Suno because it wasn't good enough to make the cut. Like, that's how much I hated it. And the lyrics, like, me and my friends, we go out, we take pictures and make stuff together. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I didn't like it, but I to the point of like the branding and everything, the story, like, I didn't think like, oh, this is objectively bad. I thought, I hate this, but this is not for me, right? And that's really the difference of when Katy Perry drops a song and everyone's like, this sucks, and not only that, it objectively sucks, versus when CharliXCX drops a new song and all the millennials are like, this sucks. Except for Jesse, because he's in love with CharliXCX.
Is he?
I also thought the song was great.
Really? Okay.
I love the song, yeah.
You know.
I was like, I hate it, but I'm just kind of an old man when it comes to my music tastes. So.
Yeah, you know, though, like, Olivia kind of framed it up to me, because she was like, you have to understand that it is, like Izzy said, it's kind of a cultural thing that she is not just a musician putting out songs, she's trend setting. And she framed it in my millennial brain as like, hey, you know how like the whole hell yeah thing that millennials are really into right now? And they're like, it's like, hell yeah, brother. And it's showing all like the shit from the or mid 2000s that are like Halo and DMX bikes and like you understand all that and that resonates with you, right? It's the same thing. Like, and I'm sure some boomer looks at that and goes, what is it? This is stupid. Hell yeah, brother. Like, what are you talking about? And that helped me, right? But I think my biggest struggle, and I get that. Honestly, I'm a marketing person. That stuff makes sense to me. It is that glitch in the song that I think I genuinely, it hurts my brain to hear that. I do not understand it. It does not sound good to me. But I think the idea is to push people like me away. It's not just like, oh, a byproduct. The whole point is to be an exclusive club.
Yeah, I feel like between like the lyrics too and the content and everything, it's very like hamp and very chuggy. Like her just being like, I'm going out with my friends. Like it's almost like a self-aware that it's like that is just so like normal and silly that you would really make that the lyrics of your song. And I feel like that way with even the glitch sound effect is like, that is such a big part of her last like era, is that kind of like editing style of her music. So I feel like even her doing that, it's like, this is me, like this is a part of who I am. And I saw she did too, she like made a TikTok using a 1975 song. So I feel like she's just kind of doing like a fun throwback kind of element of like the new age of rock. And I don't know, I think she's just
so
getting creative.
And Gen Z coded that my millennial brain. It's like, I don't know, you know?
Well, one of the things that makes marketing work is this idea of, like you were saying, creating the in group and then creating like a high amount of time before, like it requires a high time investment to become part of the in group. You know, this is also like part of like what made TikTok work originally, was that it was genuinely a little bit hard to make videos on TikTok that like fit the format. And so what wound up happening is it kept older people out. And I think you see this in other things, right? Like in black metal, like half the point is like, are you a real Bathory fan or are you like some stupid kid? And it works.
Yeah, I think even the fact that like this is her, like the last album was so big that now she's kind of going back more to like who she is. So she's like, if you're really a CharliXCX fan and you really wore this last album, like tell me if you are now after I release this. Like it's like she's really like, yeah, she's definitely blocking people out, that it's weeding out the people that are real and people that are fake.
What is the like marketing plan for this song been? Like, has anyone been like looking at what I saw like the music video, but I haven't seen like her social. So well, like what is she been doing to push it? And then like, has there been any obvious signs of like an influencer campaign or like
the glitch effect that Izzy was talking about? I think is planned.
Yeah, I've been seeing that everywhere.
It's easy to replicate, I think, if you have even a modicum of editing skills. But a lot of people are like, how did you get the template? Like, how did you release the template? Which I think is part of it, too. It's like, let's do it and get all these content creators to do it. And then, like, later we'll put out a template, you know.
Yeah, I saw I think there's one in CapCut now. And then I saw there's a TikTok, like you can edit it in TikTok now if you just upload a video and it will glitch on time and everything. So
really,
apparently you can do it. Yeah.
Which, you know, that is from my experience, like when these labels, what label is she on?
I can tell you. 1 second. I have it up on Spotify. Also, for anyone who doesn't know, on Spotify, if you scroll to the bottom of a song, it'll tell you the label the song came out on, which is exceedingly cool and helpful.
Well, I Googled it, and it took me less time than that, so it's...
Well, that was because I was trying to explain something nice for the fans, Dustin.
She's like independent, I think, right? But she
it's under license to Atlantic. But you know, like the other thing, to circle back to Izzy's point, like,
can I finish my point? Because I was going to make a point.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
That, like,
yes.
When you're playing, it sounds like maybe she's not playing with major label money, but she also probably has money at this point as a business. But I think that for a lot of small artists, this idea of influencer marketing is like, if you really know a song has gas. But for a lot of artists, and we do this too, like when we know we have to roll out a campaign that has an early effect, you want to spend your money up front and create all this noise and make it feel like that artist is inescapable, at least for a day, if not a week. Like that is the goal. So it makes sense that it feels like all of a sudden she's everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
But Matt, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like every time I consume any CharliXCX content, there's always like, even like she posted a video of her looking like sweet in a bathrobe in her hotel room, and the song was like a Skrillex song from 2012. And I almost feel like that's poking fun at old millennials who think Skrillex is cool. But you have to kind of know about all these layers to the art to really like get the full thing. And I think the message for like DIY artists is really just like the sense of having language coded to your community is really, really valuable, right? Like, ultimately, I think the artists who you see really having success are the ones who know how to talk in the language of their particular scene, whatever that is, right? And we'll get into this with Megan Trainor, but you can tell purely from the captions, I think sometimes, whether or not an artist is cool. Because the lame artist will post like, please check out, like, even if the content's good, like they'll have a caption that's like, please check out my new song. We worked really hard on it. And then like the cool artist will be like, new song say what? And it's like,
Is that what the cool artists say?
I don't know. I was okay. I was like they'll say something tied into whatever that community is, and that tends to take people a lot further.
Yeah, I mean,
at
I
least
feel like
that's
I
been my
see that
experience.
the biggest with like Somber. Like he is so
Yeah.
incredibly aggressively Gen Z. Like with everything he says on stage, everything he does online, every post, every fan account post. Like it is so aggressively Gen Z, and that makes so many like young Gen Z people excited to see him and hear about him and learn about him and laugh at what he does and think it's so hilarious that he's doing that trend and he did this and that. So I think that does go into play. I love like a nonchalant artist of like, listen to my song. Like the like captions that are like 3 words, like my song is out. Like I love that. So I think that's also very like cool of like, I don't care. Like this is just the song I made kind of thing.
Speaking of 3
I think
words,
that's when you see a lot that's like, it's literally just a song. I've seen
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
well, Charlie's post from yesterday, which I think is so meta on the Chugi scale, is live, laugh, love. Right? She's taking something Chugi and kind of making it not Chugi by leaning into its Chuginess.
Do people say chuggy now again?
We've always
I
said
say Chugi. Yeah.
I have like, no idea what this
I
was.
I
think
thought it had fallen out. Like,
this word. That's Chugi.
Chugi?
yeah, well, that's because Andrew. That's because you live under a rock.
Slash
I think
right?
because she also like she already had like a peak in her music career and then now she's having like a second peak. I feel like there's so much room for her to do that of like bringing back those like trending music artists from when she was big or like using their songs or using their lingo and kind of like bringing it to now. I think is like just funny, creative.
No, absolutely, and I think that part of how she's she's probably at this point the sort of mainstream pop star who's been cool, like genuinely cool for the longest time. And I think part of how she's threaded that needle is it's always sort of been, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, how a lot of like coolness comes from like proving your level of cultural literacy.
Yeah.
And she's always just had extreme levels of cultural literacy, and that's kind of what's allowed this to keep going. And if you're lacking that cultural literacy, doing some homework on what the cool people in your genre are doing will help you kind of understand like what's actually resonating.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Zara Larson effect too of like everyone's doing this funny meme, so I'm just going to make it my whole brand and everyone's like that's be perfect. We love this. Like eating it up. Yeah, I think it's very very true.
When brands do it too, it works really well. Like it's funny to me because there's brands and just goes off the topic of the music industry, but there's people who work at companies like Papa John's who are making content. Like there's this one creator and he wears a box on his head.
Yeah.
He's a Papa John's worker and he's just sit there flipping Dota music. And it's huge content. And
Oh,
there are
isn't that
companies-
Domino's? I think I saw that yesterday.
I thought it was Papa John's. Maybe it's
Maybe Domino's is copying him now, but
Well, so a lot of these companies are being like, who's this creator? It used to be like, if you worked at our company, you're not allowed to make any content and post it with our name on it or whatever. And then they're going in and shutting this down, which is so stupid. And what they should be doing instead is creating basically like a bounty system of like giving people bonuses if they post content while on the clock and doing cool and funny stuff and that content does well, because that is the language that Gen Z speaks. They don't want the brand acting like a person. They don't want to see old school commercials. They want the Gen Zers who work at these companies to endorse these companies. And that's how it feels about, I mean, it's always been the case in music. Like you got to have these people, these young people that are way into it being like, this is for me. But I just think embracing the craziness, which is hard to do when you get older. Like when you're young, you're like, I'm always going to be that way. But when you get older, it is hard to understand sometimes because it changes. If it was the same shit that it was when we were kids, yeah, I'd understand it. But it changes and then you're like, I don't get this. And you have to spend time thinking about it.
it
Yeah.
also depends who you're trying to attract, like for sure, right? Because like not every company wants to do marketing like that because like it makes no sense for them to attract Gen Z customers, for example, or like depending on what music you're making, if you know like your core targeting. Like if all of your content looks like it appeals to Gen Z, but your audience is more like millennial, that's actually a bad thing too. So it's not like a blanket statement of like whatever CharliX is or whatever other artist is doing is like better. It's just you need to understand like who you're trying to get, and ideally do things that make sense for that.
Yeah, I feel like for brands, I like really do think that like you're saying of like having those certain people from the companies making the content. I feel like it's very much so like the like Jake from State Farm thing of like it can really be any age or demographic or group that wants to have someone, but having like a single person that's seen throughout so much of your content like really can make it grow because it's like familiarity of who they are. Like you want to follow them, you want to see what else they do, you want to know more about them and more about the brand then. And I feel like that is something that sometimes millennials are scared to capitalize on, but Gen Z is very aware of like, if I'm in every video for your brand will probably do better because I'm speaking the lingo of what the audience wants to see. Where if it's just like graphics and other things going on, like they don't know who that is. There's no like real connection point with the content. So I think that's a huge thing too.
Yeah.
I mean,
the first time I can remember that happening was Jared from Subway.
Ah, that bad example, Andrew.
Well, that's my point. Is that's kind of the example of how when it goes wrong.
No, the first example is Dave from Wendy's. In fact, Dave was like one of the very first, other than Colonel Sanders, to be the face of his own company. In fact, he worked for Colonel Sanders at KFC, and he was the one who was like, "Hey, you need to be the mascot for your own company." And so he came up with that idea before he started Wendy's, and then he was like, "I'm going to do the same thing." He died, I think, early 2000s, but that was a rare thing back then. But now I love it even more, Izzy, because it's almost decentralized. It's like, don't have one mascot. Like your employees are your mascots. Everyday people that work at your companies, post content, have fun, be different versions of the company's brand. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, Izzy, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I have some lore of when I was in college, I worked for McDonald's, and the company I worked for like ran like 20 local McDonald's, and I ran the TikTok, and every video was just like me with a trending audio and a funny hook and being like, when McDonald's, because you buy one, get one nuggets today. And then it was actually crazy. Like I recently looked at the account and there was like 20,000, 30,000 views of just local people like my age on TikTok, like engaging with the content and like following me because of it and just like being connected with it because I'm there and I'm working the job and I'm be like, I woke up at McDonald's, this is why I'm working here, I'm getting this much off my college tuition and they're helping me do this, this, and this, and I get paid this much, and everyone's like, whoa, this is crazy, I didn't even know all of that. So I feel like, there's just so much more realness when there's a real person there living the life and doing the day-to-day and showing that online versus just like a graphic or something really casual.
Or like, I don't know, it can get so boring, especially if it's run by boomers. Although it's funny because when boomers approach social media, sometimes it does well too. Because they'll show up and it'll be framed like a boomer, right? They'll be like standing there like it's a commercial. And they're like, "Hi, it's Bob. I own the McDonald's." And everybody's like, "Fucking love Bob!" Like they're just like, "This is great."
That's true.
I think that one of the things to understand is that earnestness becomes really tricky, right? And I think that people really admire earnestness because it's so scary to do that, to be Bob doing the thing. Because I think a lot of Gen Z coded stuff. I think the big shift between millennials and Gen Z, because obviously millennials, like we were saying, like there was the "why is millennial humor so weird" thing and Vice and whatever. But like, I think it's really important to realize like how much of Gen Z is wrapped in like the layers of meta humor have gotten really crazy, right? And I think I talked about this earlier, like this idea of high context versus low context. And so there's something called the Flynn effect where humans gain, I think, like the human species as a whole gains like 3 IQ points every decade. And essentially the way you can kind of track this, other than like normalized tests or whatever, is that like if you watch movie trailers, they're suddenly significantly more like assume you understand more about what's going on in the movie. Like if you look at the Die Hard trailers across 30 years, like it goes from like a man in the city to like the only way you know it's a Die Hard is they're playing Ode to Joy. And I think it's really important to realize that people can kind of figure out those situations where there's not explanation, or rather the explanation is only for people who've done the deeply online work to get the reference. And I also think that like making those deep references sometimes almost works better. You know, the CharliXCX Live, Laugh, Love. But also I've seen people where like their caption on their cool reel of live photos is like a classic lyric from a different artist in the genre. And it like creates like a soft tie, right? Like if I'm like a cool metal band with like cool photos and then my caption is a Metallica lyric, the people who care are going to think that's cool. Or, you know,
a lot of the marketing is just assuming like if you saw an ad for a movie in the 90s, if you don't understand something from that ad, you're screwed. Like, how are you going? There's no internet, right? I mean, until, 97 or whatever, when more people started getting it. But like, there's no way for you to just Google it. So if you don't understand something, that ad just failed and flopped. Whereas now the assumption is, if there's anything you don't get, it's literally just like a click away. Like you click the button, now you're on their Instagram page and you can see a whole vault of content, or their YouTube page, whatever.
Forum boards, they can, discussions, like, yeah, there's...
You can assume that the more people are going to go in and look. And there's also the comment section too. So like a lot of posts that go oddly viral on TikTok are like, you're watching, like it'll say like, wow, I can't believe that happened. And then you're watching it and then you're like, it just looped. What did I miss? And you look at the comments like, oh, this thing happened, right? And the comments kind of answer the thing that the video didn't answer. And so, I feel like marketing was a bit kind of allowed to get more vague now because of those obtuse variables.
Yeah. I do remember in the 90s, though, there would be Super Bowl commercials with the goal of getting water cooler talk, right? You'd have like the Budweiser frogs or the dancing babies. And the idea was earned media, like news talking about it afterwards, like, well, a dancing baby, that was weird. Or like, you going, did you see the dancing baby commercial? Right? Like but those were like the spaces that happened. And certainly like, I feel like really obtuse marketing was almost accidental, like Nirvana, where it was almost like community driven. Like you either understood the Seattle grunge scene or you were just not in it. And I think that is so hard to create, and somehow Charlie can do it. I think that's what blows my mind is like the diehard. I mean, Olivia was upset at my opinion when I was like, that song is not good. She was like, I'm genuinely like very mad at you. Like to create that emotion in somebody. I'm sure there's people probably watching me share this right now, and they're like, "How fucking dare you, you old man!" Of course, and then people being like, good. I don't, I think that's brilliant that she's able to do that.
Yeah, I think especially now that she's like a big enough artist to kind of do her own thing. Like, I don't know, I just always find it so amazing how like there's so many artists that I don't even follow or don't even see, but they can like fully go sell out arenas. And like growing up, like I like loved 21 Pilots, and like no one cared about them, but they were like fully selling out like arenas and everything. And I was like, It's just crazy that you can have such a strong following and cult following if just so many people just no idea who you are. You don't have to like be mainstream to be successful anymore, I think.
Yeah. And speaking of mainstream but not successful, we have our next topic, which is
Trainor.
Rough.
I've been prepping this.
Let's do the interview. The interview first, right? Let's take a watch the
yeah.
interview and then let's get into the intro.
I'm here today with Mark Jourdian. What is your official title at Good Harbor? I talk to you like every day.
We don't actually have job titles, as long as I just don't say on LinkedIn that I'm the company owner. I think Dalton, my boss, is okay with that. And I think that also just sort of speaks to the fact that we all work on a variety of things that are not always within one lane.
Point being, Mark is on the management team and directing digital for Mitski and Father John Misty and boygenius and so many other bands. I feel like all the time I'm always just shocked at how many things we're doing. But that being said, what I wanted to get into was kind of digital strategy, because that seems to be a lot of where you focus your energy, right?
I would say yes across advertising more so, and then I will weigh in on stuff, but we have a large team and a bunch of people that we tap, so you can't sort of put it all on me.
What does ad strategy look like when you're dealing with sort of these arena level artists?
I think that the biggest sort of shift as I sort of think about the artists that we work with relative to maybe sort of like baby band artists, and compared to Ed Sheeran and The Weeknd and Taylor Swift, all of our bands are still baby bands. Like the ceiling is still incredibly high. The vast majority of people, when I'm out in Pittsburgh, have no idea who the bands are that I work with, despite the fact that they will come to town and play to thousands of people because, again, so many small niches. I think the biggest difference of our bands and maybe an artist that is sort of getting off the ground as it relates to advertising is that our bands have an existing fan base. And so in a lot of cases, we are using ads to tell people that there's a new thing from a group that they love. There's a new song, there's a new album, there's a new show, there's a new t-shirt. But at the core, it's still a bit of a known commodity. And where I'm not necessarily using ad dollars is to use a Matt Bacon phrase, prospect.
I think you call it prospecting.
Okay, sweet.
But yeah.
And that's just because I think that at the scale of our bands, sussing out, at the scale that our bands are operating at, and I fully acknowledge that we are breathing rarefied air, we are in a very fortunate position. I think that if we run an ad campaign that drives 1,000 extra streams on a song, those streams and those people discovering that song are meaningful, but we are not going to sort of see that in the data, and we're going to be so financially underwater on those songs that it doesn't make sense to invest in that way. I think that's where we end up using other mediums to sort of go and do the prospecting for us, whether that's press or playlisting or things of that nature that we, by good fortune of where our bands are in culture, have access to. I think where we also see ads being valuable is to create reach that we otherwise couldn't naturally create. On Instagram right now, I'm getting ads regularly for the format coming here to Pittsburgh. I love seeing that because it means that my promoters are doing their job. There's no way that I would ever want the format posting every day, hey, we're coming to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want a band saying, hey, we have that new t-shirt that we put up yesterday. That t-shirt is still available today. And so that's where I think that ads become helpful because they allow us to, the first time a band puts up an ad, Matt, you might be sitting in the back of class. You might be on a lunch break. You might be in a place where you can't take a next step. You can't go listen to that new song from your favorite band. I have an office job. I can kind of listen to music all day. But if you are someone who is working at a coffee shop, you can't just all of a sudden say, I'm going to pause what I'm doing and listen to a song. And so I think where ads can be helpful is us going back to our base and saying, hey, we do have a show, and reminding that person, because what we don't know is what causes someone to finally buy that t-shirt on that day. What causes someone to finally say, I'm going to go buy that ticket. And so ads are great for sort of reminding people about an opportunity to engage with an artist in a way that we would, and it allows us to do it in a way that we would not normally organically, sorry, that fell apart.
I get what you're saying, right? Because like what you're trying to say, like the game is kind of the game is how do I continue to market a product without making it feel like this artist is desperately trying to put their money into their hand into the fan's pocket,
Yes.
right? And I feel like the entire music marketing everything is you don't want people to feel like this person's hand is in your pocket all the time, right? And this is one of the issues I personally start to run into with like a Patreon, because I feel like, and I'm not saying this about every Patreon, but I feel like rent-seeking behavior is rent-seeking behavior. It gets sketchy. Do you know what I mean?
I think
And
oh, sorry, go.
no, and so, but the beauty of ads is that you can kind of reach out and try to get this done without forcing the artist to keep selling. And even something like we've done with artists is we might be running an ad from an artist's page, but we explicitly use language that makes it very advertising-y, so it doesn't feel like Lucy Dacus is asking for a buck.
Yes. And I think that we are also being selective about how often we go back to the well. And that might also be the challenge of if you are a YouTuber who is putting something up every week and you're providing your fan base and your audience with the thing that they want more than anything, which is a new video from you every week, that may feel different than it does if you are an artist who is putting out an album every 3 years, where you're just not delivering that much additional stuff. But within that, there's also social norms of a space. So if you are a Twitch streamer, you don't think twice about allowing fans to give you a tip. Because before you were a Twitch streamer, you were a Twitch stream watcher. And when you came into that ecosystem, that idea of like, you're just going to give me some money because I'm just going to give this creator money because they bring joy to my life, not because I'm expecting anything physical or experiential in return. Maybe you do get the shout out on the stream. No one's going to think twice about that. In music right now, there's nowhere on any of our band's websites and on most band websites for you to say, I love your band. I don't need anything from your web store. You're not coming to a town near me, but here's $20 just because I love what you do.
And moreover, and I think this is important because you're right, but also I think moreover, those options do exist on Spotify, but nobody fucking uses them.
Because I think it's not a norm and the bands maybe feel guilty about pointing those options out. But it goes back to like this sort of cultural norms, because there was a point in time where having your music in a television commercial, if you were a credible band, was heresy. That was like sellout stuff. And then you get Moby's Play album, you get Apple commercials, you get sort of this normalizing factor. And then you have this moment, in the mid 2000s, 2010s to being like, every band is like, how do I get a sync? How do I get a commercial?
Yeah.
Because it became socially acceptable within their direct artist community, where their friend wasn't going to be like, wow, that was really lame that you were on an Apple commercial. They were like, wow, how do I get my own Apple commercial?
How do you think that cultural norm will change? Do you think we'll go towards more of a tipping culture in music?
I don't know. I don't know.
Personally, I find it unlikely. But
say more.
A Twitch streamer, for example, has no other income driver than sort of tips or like I guess merch or something. But like most Twitch streamers are not running significant merch businesses, you know.
Correct. And I can speak to that a little bit. Not Twitch specifically, but there was a merch company that we worked with who at some point had figured out that bands don't want to make money, so they started working with YouTubers.
Yeah.
And they figured out that there was years ago there was effectively an Instagram aggregator account called like the Fat Jewish.
Yeah.
Tons of followers. And this company launched the Fat Jewish web store and and no one cared and no one bought anything. And then conversely, they also worked with Mr. Beast before Mr. Beast became like the villain that he appears to be now in culture. And he just did a live stream where he was like, I don't remember the specifics, but I think it was, hey, if you buy a shirt from this time to this time, I'm willing to sign it. And he also then made it a participatory thing where he was live streaming as he was signing shirts and like making little notes to people who were like in the comments doing his random like, I'm going to insert some money into your order. That whole thing. And I think it was still at a time where his account was about philanthropy of like, by you buying this t-shirt, you are helping me go out and like buy someone a house. Or it was back when that era of like, I'm going to give someone like a $2,000 tip. Yeah. As opposed to like $1 million spectacle. And the pitch was, by buying this t-shirt, you are part of that. And so one, like I would argue that became a successful thing where he sold so many shirts that literally a tractor trailer showed up to his house because they had to sell that, like that he had to sign that many shirts. Because the audience felt like they were part of something and the audience also had a relationship with him. Whereas with like the Fat Jewish, it was just like, oh, this is an account I follow because it has funny memes and maybe he shows up to a dance night at a club because he is himself kind of a meme. And we see that same thing with some of our artists where we have an artist on our roster who almost has 10 million monthly listeners and just doesn't sell much merch. Not like much merch by the scale of how big he is, like just doesn't sell a ton of merch. And I think that for whatever reason, people don't have as deep of a relationship with that creative project as they do with a Lucy Dacus or a Mitski. I think that Lucy Dacus and Mitski write lyrics and make music that says to people, I want to get a Lucy Dacus tattoo. And in some ways, a Lucy Dacus t-shirt is a temporary tattoo of Lucy Dacus. It's you going out into the world and saying, this is the tribe I am part of, and I am simultaneously looking for other people who are in my tribe. But I'm going to define myself with that t-shirt. Now, with that said, we just launched a bunch of Lucy Dacus items on her web store today. They all have the same positioning. They all get the same amount of featuring in her newsletter. They all get the same level of featuring on social. 2 or 3 of the items are doing far better than the other 6. So there still sort of has to be that like that intangible where the item has to work even on top of it being an artist or a brand that you want to rep because it says something about you in the world.
If you want to hear more of this interview, all you have to do is subscribe for $5 a month on our YouTube. And in the back half of this interview with Mark, we get into so many more wild digital marketing tactics. He's genuinely one of the most thoughtful people I know in music, where these are the conversations Mark and I have on like a weekly basis when we're figuring out marketing strategies around Lucy Dacus or whatever. And you kind of get to peek into one of them.
All right, so let's have a conversation with somebody who is sort of on the opposite spectrum of CharliXCX, whose marketing rollout is not going so well for a myriad of reasons. Hopefully, we can uncover. Her name is Megan Trainor. and she released her content. I don't know if the song actually out. Hold on.
The record came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think everything is out now.
Everything's out now, and all I know is over the last week she posted a ton of content around this new record, and generally there has been negative feedback on the song, but I think it's a byproduct of the actual rollout. And I just want to watch like a piece of content or two that she's made before we kind of dig in.
I wanna get them hot until they shiver, shiver, shiver. I don't sweat, no, I shimmer, shimmer.
Actually, I want to
all I need.
And the thing with this,
You know what's crazy is
go
before
ahead.
you get into it, it looks like she's taken down. There's a couple pieces I wanted to show, and they're gone. So maybe it's because of the hate. But I was scrolling through, and I'm like, where is like? There's two dances in particular that got a lot of hate, and
I see them on TikTok. Yeah, I saw a lot of them on TikTok and a lot of the hate on TikTok.
Do you want to pull it up?
Maybe, yeah. Let's see if maybe she only posted it on TikTok.
No, because I did see them on Instagram because I was like,
Unless they're like trial reels or something.
So here's one of them on the other one is gone. It's not. Oh no, here it is.
there's a great top comment. Not a fan of the bathing suit bottom over bike shorts, but other than that, I hate it.
That's crazy.
That alone is kind of like a trend comment I see all the time now, and it makes me laugh every time.
We're not mad, Megan. We're just sad. The worst songs always have a line about the haters. I am past my Megan Trainor phase. Her vibe is so off now. This is a comment. I mean, this is so indicative of something's not right here. And I think I have the answer. I've thought about this a lot because it's really intrigued me. But I'm really curious, like, and we'll start with Izzy. Izzy, what is she doing wrong here? What's happening?
I think there's so much to it. I think it's kind of giving current, like, Katy Perry, where it's like, you're almost trying too hard. The costumes are too much. Like, we just got to chill out a second. Because it is very, like, throwback vibes, but not in the way that, like, CharliXCX is doing it in, like, a chuggy camp kind of way. She's not chuggy camp. She's just doing it. So I feel like she either needs to do, like, a full 180 or just figure out a way to be a bit more casual. Cause even like the TikTok dance aspect, like that is very like 2021 marketing even. Like I wouldn't really tell my artists to do a TikTok dance unless like they are a dancer. Like Tate McRae is a dancer. So of course she's gonna dance on her TikTok. Where this feels very disingenuous, it feels very forced, it feels very overdone. Cause even the girl being like, putting haters in a song is always the worst song. Like it's always like, it's like, ooh, it's just too much. We gotta calm down. We have to take a step back. Especially cause like, she's not unlikable. Like she's a mom. She's a nice girl. So it seems like, I don't know. I think there's so much to it, but definitely the current Katy Perry aspect of like, we gotta figure something else out.
Well, I think that there's sort of this thing where, well, the thing that makes me laugh with the Katy Perry comparison, because I was thinking about that too, is her photos on Spotify. She's in like a trad wife getup, except, and it's kind of like that Katy Perry like feminism thing where it's like I don't know
exactly.
if like you like I think you've heard of feminism, you know, but what it's this thing where it's kind of similar to why Taylor Swift gets a lot of hate, is that it reaches a point where it's so normie coded that people, even if they are living relatively like normal lives and have like mainstream music taste, don't want to feel like they are a normie when they are checking out their favorite artist, right? And like even Taylor Swift, there's sort of like this subtext within her work of like, oh, there's all these Easter eggs and it's deep and there's actually a lot going on here, you know, even if you can debate that, you know, but like what this made me think of, I went to college for about 20 minutes and the thing that
Sorry. It was right there. I fucking couldn't.
that was good. No, that was good. Sorry. That was really good. That was, I dig that. What it made me think of was I went to American school after going to high school in Paris and being part of like a very vibrant underground like death metal scene in Paris, and moving to like going to a school like right outside of Philadelphia and like meeting women who were like clearly like would tell you like, I am here to like meet my husband and then go live in the suburbs. And I just remember this like wrecked me. Like, what? And that's what it made me think of, was like just insane levels of normiedom. And I just don't think that gets a foothold in the culture.
Yeah, I could see that. I think the big thing too underlying with her and her brand is the fact that she started her brand on like self-love, body positivity, accepting myself, being myself, loving myself. And her music is still doing that in a sense, but she has like changed so much and her followers started following her because of that. So it's like totally good to change who you are, change what you want to look like, whatever. But if you make a baseline of followers that follow you because they love their bodies because of you loving your body, and then you change your body, it's just a little bit jarring, and it feels like I signed up for something that now I'm not getting, which is tricky. It's tricky to do that kind of thing. But I feel like that's the biggest thing of like, oh, this is a lot for people to understand what's going on.
I also always felt like she really rode having like a very square jaw into the body positivity movement. Like,
yeah, I see so many people.
She was always very attractive. Like,
she's gorgeous. But like, there's some people commenting, being like, I see so many of like, she said she's all about that bass. I don't see it, and it's like, it's in a way true. Like that was her brand. Like that was most of what her songs were about. And now it's her body's changed, which is fine. You can change your body, but it's just tricky for the fans to like figure everything out with her and her new era when it comes to that as well.
Do you think there's any like intentionality in like you mentioned how she got the trad wife dressed vibes in a lot of this content, actually, not just the profile picture, but also what she's wearing and a lot of this stuff on her Instagram. And then about half of her content is family content, and she is, I think, 32 or something. So she's like maybe trying to transition her like the kind of future of her music to be like, I'm for like the people who are becoming mothers. It's like she wants to kind of pivot, like so maybe like a lot of people online that are dumping on it aren't the people she wants to be reaching anyways. Just a theory. Well, but for example, like a lot of the people who are very actively loud online are often not the people who buy anything anyways, right? It's like when you have people like, oh, like for example, the whole Target boycott thing. There are a lot of people who boycott Target online don't have money. They don't actually go shopping. So
you could have.
Like, that's true, right?
I've never
gone to one of those stores and seen it be like negatively impacted by any of the. And I'm sure in some areas it happens, but there is a big thing about what's loud online doesn't actually represent the reality of the performance of something.
I've seen a lot of the comments too that are like, I've seen this I can't wait to hear this at like JCPenney's, like that kind of thing. And it's like, that's a different generation of people that shop there versus Gen Z.
But I think that's the joke, right? Is that like, I don't think that, okay, we're going to lose a sponsor, but I don't think that cool people shop at JCPenney's. Like,
what if she's not going for the cool people? What if she's going for the
no, that's what I'm saying.
But the problem is she is going for the cool people. That is sort of the whole issue here, in my opinion, is that she has built an every person brand from the very get-go, right? Like, it's all about that base, be who you are, I am who I am. And she has she didn't stop that. She continued it by showing her beautiful family. And arguably, her family is very famous. Her husband's famous. Like, they're the kind of, she's built such a good brand identity around that, and it's an every person brand. So to then take that and try to wear this, and I don't know if cool is the word she's going for, but I think like high effort, high fashion, high whatever. It's sort of like this fantasy version of it. It just, like you said, Izzy, it clashes. Like, if I'm an every person, and I love her for that because she's like me, and maybe I went through my own transition into like, I'm gonna go work out a lot. I'm in my mid-30s. I just had babies. Like, this is my life. Represent that. Look, if you listen to your music and feel like, and maybe she doesn't feel this way, but like it's very JC Penney's, showcase that. Show everyday people. If you're not all about that bass anymore, show people that are. There's a way that this brand could have been built that represented exactly what she's built for the last like 10 plus years.
I was thinking that too, like, she's not really leaning into it as much as she should be. Like, I would like, you need dancers that are diverse in size. You need music that still talks about, like, loving yourself no matter what size you are. You need to, like, really still keep it a part of your brand instead of just, like, pretty much cutting it off. And I don't know. I know, like, her overall brand, I feel like she's always been very, like, bubblegum pop vibe. But I've seen a lot of people also, like, hate on her for copying Sabrina Carpenter and, like, taking her style. Yeah. And it's kind of leans into what you're saying of, like, she's trying to fit in with the cool kids now. So now she's, like, overcompensating and trying to do that. But I'm like, she has kind of always done, like, the bubblegum pop thing. But I don't know. It's still it doesn't feel genuine, or it definitely doesn't feel like the past version of her, I guess. So
it doesn't feel genuine. And that might be the best way to sum it up. It does not feel genuine.
Yeah. And so this leads into, kind of tied into this, we wanted to talk about Blue Dot Fever, because part of the drama here is that this rollout went really bad. And when we say really bad, we're talking about an artist who has has a song with 1 billion streams and another with almost 1 billion. And a lot of these songs, or one of the songs on this new record doesn't even have 250,000 plays, and it's been out. A couple songs on this new record don't have 250,000 plays, and it's been out for 2 weeks, or 3 weeks.
Oh, and just to show some data to back up what you're saying, I don't know if what song off this album came out in December, but I think whatever they did in December kind of like peaked it, but ever since then it's just completely nosedived.
They had a Christmas song. It looks like
Christmas song. Of course,
I was pulling up Chartmetric,
but the problem here is that we get into this Blue Dot Fever question, which is like artists who we think are big. Like, she's basically been big my entire adult life, or like a household name my entire adult life. Are trying to do these tours and they're falling apart. And we're seeing tours are like underselling, et cetera, et cetera. Have all the arena, stadium-sized people just from a previous generation just lost their audience, or what else is going on? I have a lot of opinions, but let's tap in.
Well, so it was Post Malone and Jelly Roll canceled a bunch of dates on their tour. Meghan Trainor canceled her whole tour, and there was another big artist that I forget.
It was Pussycat Dolls. Right?
Oh, Pussycat and Zayn. Not as big as some of those, but yeah. My personal take on this was that it has less to do with those artists and more to do with how the ever-rising costs of going to a live show. Like, I think I said a couple months ago when I went to see Linkin Park, I think it was like $600 for the whole day. And like, yeah, I could have done it cheaper, right? But it was like parking was like $60. The tickets alone were $200 a seat. Beers were $23. T-shirts were $50. And so it becomes this very expensive day when in the past you might be able to just go for like $200, everything included.
Yeah, that's kind of my initial take too. Like, it's kind of the same thing of like, movie theaters are dying, this is dying, bowling alleys are dying. We just don't have money. I don't know what to tell you. I can't put a down payment down on a house, so I'm not getting a house. So I don't know how I'm going to get Meghan Trainor tickets. But I mean, any show that has tickets from like $40 to $60, I'm like instantly buying because there's no other option. But yeah, I think just like overall, it's tricky to get tickets to a concert, especially with an artist like that where it's like, yeah, she's cool. Would I go see her if the tickets were cheap? maybe I would, but I can't afford the current situation, so I don't really have a need to. Like, same with Post Malone. I love him. I think he's amazing. Is it my top artist? No. So I can't justify spending $200, $300, $400 on like the last row of tickets. It's just not easy.
I saw Ed Sheeran live a couple years ago, and it was an 86,000 person show. It was at Gillette Stadium, and huge, right? I think we only went to see him because the tickets were like $60, and they were pretty good seats.
That's awesome.
I like a couple of his songs, but I wouldn't like buy an Ed Sheeran T-shirt or anything. And I feel like there's a lot of people like that for when you get to these like super big artists. Like a lot of people know them and like them, but they're not like, I just love Post Malone so much. It's like, no, you like a couple Post Malone songs. I mean, yeah, he has his diehard fans, but most of the fans who would go to the show, they're not like getting tattoos of Post Malone or anything. But if like Tool comes to town,
you want to see my Post Malone tattoo? My back
tattoo reveal.
If Tool comes to town, I'll buy VIP tickets because they're one of my favorite bands. And I wonder if like a lot of these artists who are canceling stuff, they're the ones who are booking like the biggest shows, and they have the most casual fans. Yeah, they have plenty of diehard fans, but they have the most casual fans. So they have the most expensive ticket prices in like a bad economy with the least amount, with like a percentage basis less like super fans because they have so many casual fans.
I also want to add that they, over the last, post-COVID, in order to sell these shows at the prices that they've been demanding, they have basically had to position them as lifetime experiences, right? And so for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've been sucked up into this, it's like you have to see this, you're in serious FOMO, right? Like this is a lifetime experience. And so you do it once, you do it twice, and then you start to like piece together like these are not lifetime experiences. Like this is not good enough that I think I'm going to miss out on something I'll never see again. And after you get burned a couple of times, combined with a recession of like, I'm still paying off debt from these shows that I went to because I had to see it because it's a lifetime event. So I put it on my credit card and now I'm paying that off. And you want me to come see Meghan Trainor? Well, is Meghan Trainor a lifetime event? She'd improve herself. But that's also why some Bring Me the Horizon played Nashville a couple nights ago. It probably sold out. I don't know if it did. I saw pictures. My whole team went. They all individually decided to go on their own, not knowing that they were all going. It was, and I got serious. I was the only one not there on my entire team. And so, you know, they did a good job of building that FOMO, but I don't know if that, I mean, apparently the show is fucking brilliant. So maybe they pulled it off, but not every artist can. And you can't, like Jelly Roll and Post Malone, this is like their third arena tour in 3 years.
I think that I think that we're one of the fundamental issues in kind of the everything is monetized economy is I think culture shouldn't be gatekept like that. And you know, my take is always like, well, I just wish fucking more people knew about $20 like punk shows and how you can have like a significantly more fun experience in a lot of ways than being all the way in the back of an arena show at a show that's like 200, 80 people in the size of my living room and people jumping on your head. Cause that's like most of the shows I go to. But I guess I feel like the way going forward for artists, especially smaller artists, is highlighting like intimacy and accessibility, right? Because like we will do with a lot of artists across a bunch of genres, we will do tours where we specifically tell the promoters like we will take less money if you price this at $25 or less, because we want the maximum amount of kids in there. And also, quite frankly, if I can, I can maybe sell $220 tickets, but I can only sell $140 tickets. I'd kind of rather sell the $220 tickets, not just to sell more merch, but also your boy can get my artist on a bigger tour next time around.
Yeah,
I like that.
You know, because it's like, oh, I can go, because now the agent can go to other agents and be like, we just did 200 tickets a night all around North America. We don't have to tell them what the ticket price was, you know? And even if we did tell them the ticket price, that still means twice as many people saw it because we kept the tickets cheap.
Yeah. I think another thing I've seen too is like with the price of tickets going up so much, I feel like music festivals are like all-time peak because I really wanted to go to Lollapalooza and literally 3-day pass was like $350 and it sold out in 5 minutes. And like they're like, we haven't sold out Lollapalooza this fast maybe ever, or at least in like many, many years. Cause that just makes more sense to me of like, let me go to a music festival. I'll see Tate McRae. I'll see CharliXCX. I'll see this person, this person, this person for the same price as one artist at this point. So it's like, I might as well just go to a festival. Yeah.
And it's not just a show, it's like a community event.
Yeah,
You get to hang
it's
with your
crazy.
friends and yeah, for
It's
$350,
it's
that's
insane.
really good.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
Warped Tour back in the day was like $50 or something. I remember it was so cheap in hindsight, and it was literally like 12 hours of music, multiple stages.
I would leave
That's
Warped
awesome.
Tour. It was hot. I'd go and I'd be like, I'm done with this. And I'm like, but that I do miss the days where I would just go to every show I could because it was so cheap. And then I would just leave if I wasn't feeling it. And now it feels strategic financially. It's like, oh. And then I have to stay the whole time because I spent $300 on this shit.
Anyway, so we think Blue Dot Fever, because the other piece of Blue Dot Fever that I was thinking about, and because it's important to think about, like, all the costs for touring are going up, and the primary income vector for all these venues used to be alcohol. And obviously there's an argument that, like, well, if the beers are $20, no shit, I'm not going to buy one. But I also feel like those two sides converging is very not helpful, right? Is the production costs going up because of whatever, and cost of alcohol both skyrocketing and less people drinking, and like the market and I don't think you necessarily fix nobody buying beer by offering non-alcoholic beer, like at least not all the way.
Yeah, it's still at $20. Dude, I was at the Ren Fair yesterday, and non-alcoholic smoothie at the Ren Fair was $10. And I was like it was a pina colada, and I was like, these people are just out of their minds. Like,
That's crazy.
I remember being mad at a $10 beer at like a football game, and now I've got to swallow a $25 beer at like Bridgestone. I swear I'm not sober, but I've stopped drinking because it's just so unreasonable. And Gen Z is not drinking.
Yeah, no, I feel
move.
like, it's unrealistic. I have a drink before I leave, maybe a drink there, but then I'm like, for $20, I just don't know if I can do 2 drinks. It's just not worth it to me.
No, $40 to have.
Yeah,
I was
it's
thinking
not
about
working.
that the other day. My buddy bought me dinner before a show, and I was like, okay, I'll buy beer at the show. Fucking spent more money on 4 beers. I was like sick. But the point being, so we don't think that Blue Dot Fever is like lack of demand. We think it's people are just priced out. And
it's got to be a combination of things. And, the Megan Trainor of it all is that these A-list artists have more pressure than ever to treat their shows and their brand like lifetime events, like culturally impactful things. And if you look at some of the most successful tours, like Taylor Swift's Eras tour, like culturally impactful, I'm sure CharliXCX could do something, although I feel like she would play a 3,000 cap room just to stick the middle finger up to a bunch of people. But I do kind of hate this whole notion of Blue Dot Fever because it kind of undercuts actual problems and puts the problem on the consumers. It feels very it feels like somebody at Live Nation came up with that, because saying it's a fever means that it's the fault of the consumer. It's not the fault of the consumer. It's the fault of these corporations who are trying to eke out every bit of profit that they can.
Yeah.
There's a couple things. So, like, one kind of point that it's about the pricing of things. Is the podcast The Basement Yard? Mm-hmm. They're like one of the biggest podcasts in the world. Huge on TikTok.
I think I've heard of them.
How do you not know this?
Yeah. I'm surprised you don't know.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, at long last, Andrew knows something the rest of us don't.
I know, right?
So they've been going on tours, and every time they launched a tour, sold out within 24 hours, and like they sold out Madison Square Garden.
What?
And they're just these guys that post on TikTok, and their tickets are always affordable.
Yeah.
Between $40 to $150 for a standard ticket. But they said 2 years ago when they did it, it was between $29 and $49 through the actual venue, when it was not like a resold ticket. And apparently they purposefully kept prices like lower because like with that demand, they could probably triple their prices and still sell out, right? But they're not.
But it affects your brand. If you spend a lot of money on a show, I can imagine for a podcast show, you definitely want to keep it low because you can only do so much production to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. So that's one part. Like, I think the low price, like the fact they're selling out, people will buy tickets to go see low price things. But you mentioned the production cost. Like, a lot of artists are like, I just want to put on this fantastic production and do all this crazy stuff. I think it's just kind of become unreasonable. And even like some bands that are like not that big, like they'll or not that they're not that big, but like bands will have these like crazy fancy live shows with like fire and cryo and just like giant LED screens that they're bringing on stage with them, and it's they could just like play a show, right?
Yeah.
But the problem becomes when everyone in the market around you is all gussied up, right?
Yeah.
And then when everyone in the market around you is all gussied up, and then you're putting on the less impressive show.
Yeah. It's
where
like
does that put you?
Well, I was just going to say, look at the Bring Me the Horizon production real quick. I've shared it on my screen. Like, actually, that's not even that crazy, honestly, but it's just...
Well, that's kind of the point. The fact that we think this is not that crazy kind of points to how fucking crazy it's become.
Yeah.
Because this is crazy. There's so much fire.
This is pretty crazy, I would say.
So many screens. And like when I see like Falling in Reverse is a fairly similar setup to this in terms of the amount of fire and the ridiculous amount of screens. And Ed Sheeran had like these literal like crane arms with these like 30-foot wide gigantic guitar picks that had built-in screen on them, and it was like it was wild to see the set design for his show. And would if like one of these giant artists were to say like, let me just do like a super stripped back show and make prices dirt cheap, I don't know, like the All American Rejects doing a house party tour, I have a feeling it would probably slap.
I was gonna say like the Justin Bieber Coachella set was like perfect example of this, because it's kind of like people either love it or they hate it, because it's like he's not putting enough effort in as everyone else, that's not fair, or people are like, well, that's kind of his brand because now he's an adult, so it just makes sense. It's interesting. It's tricky.
He sat down with a laptop and everyone loved his whole set. I mean, that was only part of the set, but still, like, I feel like people would rather spend $30 on a show with low production than go spend $200 on a ticket with high production in like this economy.
Yeah, like I just want to be in the room.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. We're trying to get this to go as far as it can, so please start a conversation with a musician friend by sending it to them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing on your favorite podcast app. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you ring that bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss our episodes every single Thursday. And if you could rate us on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, that means a ton. Thanks.